Hi and welcome to STAR. We're often asked in translation why context is so important and why small translations sometimes can be so hard and so difficult. Well, I'll give you a few examples. Let's take this term here, single colour ink cartridge. Seems simple enough, but in actual fact there are a couple of ways you can interpret this phrase. So let's say you have a standard printer, and that printer is a colour printer, and it has a single cartridge, and inside that cartridge it contains all of the colours: red, green, blue and cyan. So effectively that is a single colour ink cartridge. So a single colour ink cartridge, a cartridge that has all the colours in it. The alternative to that is that you could also have a printer which has individual cartridges. And in this case, the red is a single colour ink cartridge, the green is a single colour ink cartridge. So it's a very different term. So in this case, it is a single colour ink cartridge. Now, why this is important is that the translation in different languages will actually be different for both terms. So when you come to working with your translation agency, they should actually be asking you questions when there is a sentence that can be translated in different ways to ensure that the translation is very accurate. So having more context around the sentence or a phrase is very, very important. So that's why a good translation agency will actually ask you for reference material. I'll give you another example. In this example, this is a misinterpretation of English. So let's say we have my friend the butcher. So this is my friend the butcher. He's 6 foot tall, blonde, and the question is, what does he weigh? Now, this is a very sort of common joke in the English language, but what does he weigh can be misinterpreted. The actual answer is, he weighs meat, because that's what a butcher does. But the fact that I've given you some information at the start to say that he's 6 foot tall would imply to you that I'm actually asking you something else. So how much does he physically weigh? And again, within different languages, how much does he physically weigh or what does he actually weigh are two very different translations. So it's very important that to get the phrase and the understanding of the question correctly. So ask questions before you do your translations. I'll leave you with one last example, which is my favourite example. And this example is the press here example. So when I say press here, I am sure that 95% or 99% of everybody believes in the classic button, which is press here, press this button. So press here is very simple. However, press here can actually have two other meanings. So you can have three meanings in all. So first of all, press here, very simple. Now let's imagine that I'm actually in the PR business or the media business, so making videos, for example, right? I have a press conference tomorrow. So on that press conference, we have seating arrangements in our auditorium. So on the auditorium, we have two signs, with one which says press here, which basically is saying all the press people must sit here, and the other sign which says public here. So in this example, press here means something completely different. It means the press, the actual press as an organisation, which is very different than press a button. Now, the third example is, let's say I'm in neither of those business, but I am actually in the architectural business or the printing press business. So in the printing press business, we're designing the layout for our new office or our new factory floor. So this is our architectural drawing, could be done in AutoCAD, and we have desks. So we put the desks here, we put the office here, and we put the press here. So again, in that diagram, the word press is an abbreviation for printing press. And all three examples of press will have a very different translation. So, in summing up, what's most important really is for one, your translation company should ask appropriate questions. so they get the context right for your translation. And two, within your own process, you should always be prepared for questions from your agency. So always leave a small amount of time at the end of your translation process or your approval process, so that you know that there's just extra time for questions, so you can get your translation done correctly and accurately every time. Thank you very much.